Tonight, we are less than 12 hours out from a showdown inside a Portland courtroom. The state of Oregon wants a judge to pause the deployment of National Guard troops to the Rose City, while the federal government plans to argue the state doesn't have a case. And it turns out that hearing will happen in front of a new judge after the previous one decided to recuse himself. Tonight, Multnomah County DA Nathan Vasquez weighing in, filing this in support of the temporary restraining order, saying in part, quote, "The deployment of federal personnel not trained in local policing to the streets of Portland risks creating, not mitigating, the very conditions it is alleged to target." Also this evening, a Portland woman is now facing charges for assaulting a federal officer. She's accused of punching the agent in the jaw after being detained outside the ICE facility. And that's where we find our Alma McCarty once again. So Alma, it sounds like there's been a lot of activity there in just the last few minutes.
Yeah, David, I would say that, this was business as usual when we first arrived, but then there were vehicles that, of course, exited the facility. And because of that, protesters were pushed back by federal agents. And during that time, there was a bit of a scuffle. Currently, there seems to be some sort of situation happening to my left or to my right over here. But this seems to be between the demonstrators and some of the agitators who we have seen here really all evening. I will say throughout the evening, we honestly saw more journalists, photojournalists, and bloggers and their security than protesters. That is, I would say, until now, while there was some activity earlier, and we witnessed a couple of detainments, including 2 more within the last 10 minutes or so, with someone crossing the blue line onto federal property, one of those detainments. There were fewer folks out here tonight than in previous nights. For the second night in a row, Bennett Hazelton brought his sign to South Portland.
The main reason I came here was not just to support the protest. Even I wouldn't drive 3 hours just to wave a sign. There's also protests in Seattle.
He's here, he says, to counter a narrative he's noticed over the past week.
A lot of the country is only seeing the footage from the people who are sort of making content for the right-wing content mill, and what you see is a couple of highly selective edits.
In his eyes, and in the eyes of other Portlanders, protesters or not, the scene doesn't justify bringing in the National Guard.
No shade to the couple dozen people that are out here, but it's a couple dozen people. The idea that this is even national news is already kind of silly. The idea that it's treated as a national threat is absolutely bonkers crazy.
Thursday night saw a small group outside the ICE facility, peaceful and relatively calm. That is, until an apparent agitator appeared to get in the faces of some of the demonstrators.
Get lost! You're not welcome here.
Shortly after, federal agents were then seen detaining 3 people. And when allowing a couple of vehicles to exit the gates and pushing back the crowd, we're told one protester got maced in the eyes. Not the first time agents have used this tactic.
Every time you do that, you run the risk that somebody nearby is going to get upset and jump into the melee, and it increases the risk of getting hurt.
And again, we are seeing some disagreements, I should say, out here, a little bit of scuffling, but not really with the federal agents. Oh, nope, we just heard some pepper balls be sprayed onto some of the protesters who are standing on the line there. But most of the activity was centered around some of the protesters and the agitators who were in the street arguing amongst each other. And David, as far as those National Guard troops slated to come here, they are still training at Camp Rylea, and it is unclear when they could arrive. We will continue to monitor the situation down here in South Portland. Back to you.